let's bring together officially the special meeting of the Diamond Head Water and Sewer District this morning. I'm trying to remember. I left my phone in the truck. It's the 18th, right? 17th. I'm sorry, August 7th.
17th.
17th.
See what happens when you're retired, sort of. August 17th at 11 a.m. Please note that all commissioners, either by call-in or in person, are attending this meeting. Okay. Do we want to open as every other meeting? All right. So all that can, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America,
of the United
and
States
to
of
the
America,
republic for which it stands, one nation, under God,
indivisible, under God,
with liberty
indivisible,
and justice for
with
all.
liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All in attendance?
Chairman Brian Griffith,
Here.
Vice Chairman Ben Taylor,
Here.
Treasurer Louis Ertel,
Here.
Commissioner Mark Bisecker,
Here.
and Commissioner Arlen Griffey.
Here.
Thank you.
All right. With that being what it is, again, full attendance. We're here for the special session with Dr. Barfield to go over the options for 2023, or certainly the consult in that regard for 2023 billing rate adjustments. So unless,
Approve the agenda.
I'm sorry, we have not approved the agenda. So the agenda leading up to the special meeting, there's been no notice to me of any requested changes, so it is as stands. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda as it stands?
So moved.
Commissioner Ertel motions to approve. Can I get a second to that motion?
Second.
Commissioner Taylor came in first. Thank you. All in favor of approval of that action, please signify by, oh, you want to roll call? This one requires a roll call.
Yes, let's do a roll call.
Let's do a roll call vote on the agenda. Starting with, I'll let you take it, Tony.
Chairman Brian Griffith,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Ben Taylor,
Yes.
Treasurer Louis Ertel,
Yes.
Commissioner Mark Bisecker,
Yes.
and Commissioner Arlen Griffey.
Yes.
Thank you.
Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. So at this point, without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Barfield.
Thank you. A couple of weeks ago or so, I came down and met with the DWSD staff and Commissioner Taylor, and we looked at what's going on with the water and sewer district and how we might adjust the rates to help the district remain sustainable and viable for a 5-year planning horizon. One of the things that has happened in the past few years, and if you buy anything, you know this, the district's been hit by inflation as much as consumers has, or even more. The cost of pipe has gone up, the cost of chlorine has gone sky high, the cost of metal has skyrocketed, and so all of those things have really put a kink into the finances where the rates might have to be adjusted a bit more than what we had planned for last year at the public meeting. What I have in front of you is the budget, the proposed budget that Ms. Wilson I think is distributed to y'all, and is it approved? Not approved, but distributed. It's the best that we can come up with. And what we're looking at is for FY 2024 a budget of almost $5.3 million with a 5% inflation rate, which as an economist I think that's going to be pretty low for a while. But with a 5% inflation rate every year, that budget jumps up to almost $5.5 million in 2025, 5.7 in 26, 5.9 in 27 and 6.1 million in 2028. It's not that we're doing rates that's set in stone for those next 5 years, but it's good if you have a plan on what you might be looking at in order to do this. So, having said that, we came up with two different options. The options are very similar, but there are some differences in them. Option one, in the first year, we would increase the residential base rate to $20 for 2,000 gallons of water. That would apply to all residences and all condominiums. And the flow rate for everything consumption over 2,000 gallons for water would be $2.98 a thousand. If I'm not mistaken, I believe that's a 25-cent increase in the flow rate and a 50-cent increase, $1 increase in the base minimum rate from $19 to $20 and from $2.73 to $2.98. For the commercial side, option one involves increasing the base minimum rate to $24.95 for the first 1,000 gallons of water, and that base minimum amount has remained constant for the several years that I've been working with y'all in doing this. And then the flow rate would be $7.60 per thousand up until the 5,000 gallon mark is reached, and then that flow rate would drop to $2.98 per thousand. Wastewater, the district's research and data show that it costs twice as much for the district to treat its wastewater as it does to provide water. So wastewater rates would be double what water rates are. If you remember, wastewater rates are based on water consumption. So it will be $40 for the first 2,000 gallons of water consumption for your sewer rates, and then $5.96 per thousand gallons of water consumption for a sewer rate for everything over 2,000 gallons. A commercial would be $49.90 for the first 1,000 gallons of water consumption, $15.20 for the next 4,000 per thousand for the next 4,000 gallons, and then the over 5,000 gallons of water consumption, the sewer rate would be $5.96 a thousand. What we did on option one, or what we're looking at, is that in the future years, FY 2025, 6, 7, and 8, we would increase the base minimum rate by 50 cents for each year. So it would go up from $20 in 2024 to $20.50 for 2,000 gallons in 2025, $21 in 2026, and so forth. And then the flow rate would increase by a quarter, 25 cents per 1,000 gallons of usage for each block. So you can, if you were here, you could see that water would increase from $2.98 to $3.23 to $3.48, so forth. Wastewater being double what water is, wastewater would go up $1 on the base minimum rate every year and 50 cents on the flow rate every year. The important thing to remember here is, one, with this option one, we've actually increased the base minimum rate and the flow rates for water and wastewater, but we've left the base minimum amounts at 2,000 gallons and 1,000 gallons respectively for residential and commercial. Option two is a bit different, okay? In option two, for residential, we did increase the base minimum rate from $19 to $20, but what we ended up doing was lowering the minimum gallon allowance from 2,000 gallons to 1,500 gallons. But by doing that, we were able to keep the flow rate in year one the same for water, okay? and wastewater as well. The reason that we chose 1,500 gallons is that most of the people that are subject to a minimum rate use less than 1,500 gallons of water. So if we drop that minimum from 2,000 gallons to 1,500 gallons, you're not affecting that many people, and everyone's bill would basically go up $1 per 1,000 gallons by lowering that minimum rate. It's a different mentality. It's a different change. It's what a lot of systems across the state are moving towards, is making this base minimum amount really more of a service charge, that having water available to the house ought to be worth something, and then the customer should pay for water, the amount of water that they actually use. I just came to Diamond Head from Waveland this morning, and you should not do what Waveland does just because Waveland does it. This is just information I'm giving you. Waveland's rates are $20 for zero amount of water, and then they charge $2.25 per 1,000 for every gallon of consumption that they have. That's their old rates. They're going to be going up some in the near future. I just don't know what those will be. The difference in these two options really comes down to, and if I can get this to where at least the board can see it, or the ones that are present can see it.
Yeah, you all driving, don't try to watch this.
Don't try to watch this. Okay. If you look at the top, let me try to do this. The top right-hand corner of each of these screens, and I'll try to bump this up a little bit to make it a little bit plainer. These are the net incomes, or the excess of revenues over expenses that I'm projecting that the district would accrue with each of these options. Now, what we've done differently this year than we have in the past is that we've included other revenues, connection fees, tap-on fees, reconnects, late charges, those types of things. We've included those in the revenues this year where we didn't last year or any other year. So these look much larger, these amounts, but when you start looking at the operation of the water system, the rates are pretty much at a break-even point on either side. But for option one, where we still have a 2,000 gallon base minimum amount, we're looking at clearing $458,770 for fiscal year 2024. It goes up to $497,000 in 25, $559,000 in 26, $590,000 in 27, and $588,000 in 20. It drops a bit to $588,000 in 2028. A lot of that's due to debt service that we have. Yes, sir.
Yeah, if I look at last year, and we were projecting, I think, the same flow rate increases for 2024 that we had projected for 2024 last year, and we were netting out in 2024 98,000. Now we're netting out 458,000. And that's what you're saying. That's the reason.
That's the difference, is adding those non-operating revenues in there. And if you...
Can you quickly remove that cell and show them what the difference is?
Oh, I'm happy with it. I mean, I'm happy with this number. I was more worried about the other number, but I'm happy with this number. But I guess my question is, what are we netting out this year, and what are we planning on netting out next year, net?
That's what he's showing you.
Yeah.
So
The non-revenues are
What the numbers don't
$469,000.
show, Commissioner Ortell, if I hear his question correctly, is 2023 closure. What are you netting this year?
Net,
Oh, okay.
all in,
Yeah.
roughly.
Not in this study.
It's
Roughly.
not in this study,
Yeah.
it's on the budget. Hold on.
Yeah, it should
It's
be
in
on
the
the budget, I just wanna make sure I'm looking at the
It's
same numbers on the budget.
It's not in this.
435 is what I'm projecting.
Yeah, okay, that's the same thing I saw, okay. 435 this year, and what is it next year, 453 or something like that?
Depending on the option, 458 versus
Yeah,
500.
okay,
Yeah, it was 458 using option 1.
Right.
but that's net,
Yes.
everything in, all in,
All in.
okay, yeah, that makes me feel better.
Which is why I asked him to show that similar to the way we look at the budget, showing everything.
Yeah, now that makes more sense, okay.
Because if you show just operating, it's really, really tight. So I asked him to add those, because remember we talked about it during the budget presentation,
Right.
that it was so tight. So I asked him to include that in, and so that we could see.
Yeah, well, that explains the difference I was looking at from
Yes.
what we were looking at. And because it's the same increases we had in flow rates from
Yes.
the 5-year study from last year
Yeah,
for this year.
75
Yeah,
cents.
right. Okay, good, thank you, sorry to interrupt you.
No. With option 2, dropping that base minimum amount to 1,500 gallons just for residential, leaving the flow rate the same in FY24 as it was in FY23, and then increasing the flow rate by a quarter 1,000 gallons for water and 50 cents per 1,000 gallons for wastewater. After the initial period, you would net about $500,000 in 24, 555,000 in 25, 635 in 26, 683 in 27, and about $698,000 in 2028. The difference in that is the power of lowering that base minimum amount. Is really what it comes down to. When you lower that and pick up, if you give me just a second. About 100, I would guess 75 customers a month actually paying a usage fee. That's where that extra revenue really comes in. And that's not in your state.
Can you see a side by side of the bill comparison, like we were looking at during our workshop? So that the board can see the side by side of what the bill would look like for a customer.
What was the total for the old rates?
57.
57 and 819?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think you determined the largest percentage of our customer base is between 4 and 5,000 gallons, 4 and 6,000 gallons. So maybe look at that's our largest percentage.
With the rates, and what we're looking at is a sensitivity analysis for the two
Changes to two options.
the two options.
Right.
Okay. Well, until 2,000 gallons, and really even a little above that for option 1, bills are going to increase about 5.3%. That's good. That's increasing that base minimum rate from $1 or from $19 to $20. Once you start moving up, around 4,000 gallons is probably the median usage for this system. Under option 1, a person using 4,000 gallons, their bill would increase 6.1%. To be honest, about the rate that inflation's run, or a little bit below that. For option 2, because we're dropping that base minimum amount down, a 4,000 gallon customer, their bill would increase about 9.7%. They wouldn't experience any rate, well, they would experience a 5.3% rate increase up to 1,500 gallons instead of 2,000 gallons. Then it would start moving up a little bit more. The people using 2,000 to, say, 3,500 gallons, that group of folks would experience a double-digit increase in their water bill, mainly because now they're having to pay part of that flow rate where they never had to before, or didn't have to pay as much before. And then it starts dropping down. The higher you use, the lower the increase is, mainly because we've lagged those flow rate increases by a year for option 2 over what we did for option 1. I'm not sure. I can certainly include this in the packet in the letters that I send you, but that's kind of what you're looking at. What really happens on option 1 is that the more you use, the higher your percentage increase is going to be for your bill. With option 2, the percentage increase when you hit 1,500 gallons or above 1,500 gallons is fairly high, but then that percentage increase starts falling the more that you use, simply because of those lagged flow rate increases. What else did you want to show?
I mainly just wanted to get an idea of what the increase, how the effect would be on the actual.
Right. So, once you hit around there's no real even point on it. There is no, it makes sense. You've got the same budget in both scenarios. Option 2 brings in more revenue than option 1 does. Okay. Somebody in option 2 is going to have a higher increase in their bill. That higher increase for the first year of doing this anyways is going to be those people that use 1,500 to 3,500 gallons of water.
Why does the commercial rate drop down in option 2?
Sir?
Why is the commercial rate less than option 2?
Let me make sure of what I'm looking at and saying before
Commercial water revenue.
The flow rate stayed the same as it currently is and didn't increase. Just like in the residential side, the flow rates didn't change unless you exceeded 5,000 gallons.
Okay.
The flow rates are, the only change would be on the minimum for the commercial side, but no change to the actual per thousand in excess of the minimum.
So the reality is commercial rate is actually raised by $3. Again, the commercial minimum.
In option 2, yes.
Right. It's not a decrease.
I'm not. Can you let me see what sheet you're looking at?
Yeah, I'm looking at option 1 and option 2.
I see that. Which sheet though?
Well, let's do-
No. Yeah. Page. Okay.
Okay. It shows the commercial rate is less under option 2. commercial water revenue was 283 under option 1 and 275 under option 2.
Because the flow rates didn't change.
Okay.
The flow, I'm sorry, I missed that one before. If you, this is the commercial rates for the first year under the two options.
Mm-hmm.
In option 1, we went ahead and increased that commercial flow rate by a quarter to $760. In option 2, because of that $500 drop in the base minimum for residential, where we left those residential flow rates the same as 2023, we also left the commercial flow rates the same for 2023.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Now, we can run a scenario to change that. It's up to y'all, but that's the difference, because you're charging less for commercial under option 2 than you would under option 1, even though the base minimum amount didn't change.
Right.
Is there a way you can see, show the board the percentage of customers where our largest percentage is of usage, so that they can get an idea of how many customers it will affect one way or the other?
That 80% block,
I think it was like,
70 something.
Yeah, if you look at,
You can look at it right there. It's
There you go.
statistically relevant all the way through. It's a matter of where you philosophically are drawing your line.
Right.
Because, you know, if I look where you were beginning to discuss, that's 77.3% at 5,000 to 6,000 gallons. You drop down from there, 72.65. It's a matter of where you set that line, which is gonna,
Yeah.
if I may, Mr. Barfield,
Sure.
Dr. Barfield, if the board will indulge me, I'm gonna try to initiate an actionable discussion on this, okay? And so what we have are statistically the relevance of rate change to projected usage based on a lot of running years averages. So it is a very, very good formula. As would be evidenced by actually closure of 2023 as current estimate. Now, having said that, the board, we have new board members. A couple of us will recall, and certainly Mr. Durrell, our public audience here, the district, for not the right reasons at all, like many districts went into a very latent period of catching up billing rates to actual cost of operations. That is a very foolish move. And but nonetheless, it's how the populace in the ratepayer in Diamond Head receives impact, right? For the longest period, mom in the kitchen writing the monthly bills could almost be down to the penny if that household was under 2,000, 2,500 gallons at a particular point in time. Suddenly the world changes, and the only thing to see is the change, right? So what I'm saying to you is, yes, we could run indefinite scenarios. My concern, and I think the board's concern, would be, you know, the budget needs to be solvency for the district and risk management. You know, somebody would ask, why do you have $500,000 worth of captured banked revenue? It's for the risk of, I mean, 2 major pumps at the plant would annihilate that reserve component of the budget. It's all about risk. It's not paying anything else but risk. So there's 2 things I think we needed to go forward to in the future. My recommendation would be this, because we've been the greater district for so many years, has been so latent in making it an expectation properly that annually the budget and the rate will move with market. See, having said that, we have the option before us at approximately, can't hardly get closer to $500,000 to run the scenario, which we did in option 1, at or about $500,000 in captured revenue based on best forecast at a rate that has, as was pointed out when developing option 1, has a de minimis impact on the vast majority of the ratepayers. In my estimation, and looking at it, about almost 75% of the ratepayers have a nominal change from 2023. Okay, I think that supports option 1 on 2 principles. One, we had a rate change last year. We'll have a rate change this year, and we'll have a rate change in 2025, and on the story goes. I think this is a period of time in this next coming year where my concern is the revenue banked. Does it equal the risk portfolio that it's being banked to fix, right? You lost those 2 big pumps. You got now a brand new water tank system. All of the other components there are additive, not subtractive from the risk portfolio. And so consequent to that, I'm just trying to tell you we need to be able to develop a algorithmic story that simply expresses why this budget moves each and every year. And in that risk portfolio is the reason for the acquired banking, if you will. You see where I'm going with this? So if we find, upon looking at that risk portfolio, that it's much higher than we think it is, and we're going to have to make incremental move towards that, I'd be more inclined in a future scenario to look at what percentage of the ratepayer population we are prepared to target as the line to move up and down from. You see what I'm getting at? Right now we're just picking numbers, and I don't think that's wise. I think you would, in my estimation, given the construct of Diamond Head, you would pick the 75% structure in the city. Commercial's possibly a very different animal to me, but on the residential, you'd pick the 75%, and you'd have to move that slide in that 75% to at either rate base or rate base plus flow. You would capture what's needed for the risk portfolio. Do you see what I'm getting at? So we're not there, and we're certainly not going to eat that elephant between now and next Thursday. But that's what I would suggest would promote the adoption of option 1 when we get around to it on Thursday next week, but with the understanding of where we're going in the future on the risk frame. And I just offer it up to discussion among the commissioners.
Yeah, I'm all for going with option 1.
Okay.
And I guess last year we had a what I would call an executive summary letter from Doctor, and we're going to get the same thing again this year.
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's something we should have as well, because that's I'm a 30,000 foot guy. I don't get down in the weeds usually with Tony's numbers, but I look at everything from 30,000 feet, and that's executive summary is what I call it. But that letter you issued last year, yeah, that's what you need.
Yeah, we got them prepared for both options, just in case.
Commissioner, I'll just call you out individually. Commissioner Bisecker, your feeling?
Kind of concur with what's being said and going on. I mean, we got to be viable.
Yep.
And we got to, our mission is to be viable at a cost-effective way for our client base, our customers.
So again, for everyone's benefit that certainly hopefully isn't driving and running and seeing these numbers in front of them, you're talking about an under 6% delta for the vast majority of the ratepayers in Diamond Head. And as Dr. Barfield said, we're not linear to the inflation rate. Our values of material consumption and everything else is a completely different animal, and it's not under 6%. So we'll be able to express that in the summary position. Thank you, Mr. Bisecker. Commissioner Taylor, if you're with us. Yep. Sounds like you are. Commissioner Taylor? He must be in that. He must be in that area that's bad. Commissioner Griffey?
Right here. Yes, sir. I concur with moving forward on option one.
Okay. And it sounds like, unless you're traveling, Commissioner Griffey, it sounds like Commissioner Taylor just came in.
Yeah, I'm sorry. You called on me, and I reached for my phone and accidentally hung up.
Oh.
I sat, with Dr. Bearfield for a good bit of time, that day, and it's a tough decision. There's really no way to really please everybody. I know we're going to get backlash either way, but the goal is just to be, I guess, as solvent as we can without killing the ratepayer. But I'm with the consensus that it's whatever we need to do to stay afloat and do what we need to do every day to operate.
Yep. All right, and then certainly you would gather from my opener on this actionable, I concur. So I'm going to ask you a favor, Doctor. Would you pronounce your name so we can get it right once?
Bearfield.
Bearfield. Dr. Bearfield.
It doesn't matter.
It does to me. So what I'm going to do is we do not have a motion, I don't think, in this particular regard. We have direction to give for the upcoming meeting next Thursday, which would be closure. And that closure would be after consult on options 1 and 2, and with the data background behind it. The board is in concurrence to request that the administrative staff wrap up for final approval option 1 for the 2023-2024 budget next Thursday. And inclusive, and thank you in advance, Dr. Bearfield, of his summary of the elements of that budget. The two of you are negotiating over there. Is anything?
That motion in the next agenda Thursday.
That's what I'm saying. But I would presume it can't be handled unless we handle it, the start of it here.
Yes.
But not in the form of motion, just form of direction. Or concurrence on the direction being taken. Okay. Well, unless there is additional business, which I did not have in my agenda, I'll again thank you, Dr. Bearfield, and request a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Ertel. Can I get a second to adjourn?
Second.
Wow, they all came at the same time. I think that was Commissioner Griffey's voice I heard. So I'm going to request, because 3 of us are phoning in, that Tony make a roll call on the adjournment.
Chairman Griffith,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Ben Taylor,
Yes.
Treasurer Louis Ertel,
Yes.
Commissioner Mark Bisecker,
Yes.
and Commissioner Arlen Griffey.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. The meeting of August the 17th, special meeting, is now officially adjourned.
Thank you all.